Snowflakes danced like feathers across the cold Toronto sky. Amar Singh stood on the steps of the downtown university library, phone in one hand, backpack slung over the other shoulder, earbuds in, lost in a Punjabi hip-hop track. Finals were over, winter break had begun. And yet, there was a hollowness in his chest that no song could fill. Home for the holidays? Someone asked behind him. It was Manveer Kaur, third-year medical student, top of every class, and more importantly, daughter of the Gurdwara president. Amar had known her for years, friendly, to religious. He used to think, always involved in something Seva-related. He gave a half smile, not sure, might stay in the city. Might go to Vancouver, depends. She tilted her head. Well, if you're staying, come help us out at the Gurdwara. We're running a Seva drive, Langar for the homeless. It starts tomorrow. You in? Amar hesitated. He hadn't been to the Gurdwara in almost a year. His beard was trimmed, his kara tucked under sleeves, and the last time he did Simran was. He didn't even remember. Maybe, he mumbled. Waheguru will be waiting, she said simply, and walked away. That night, Amar tossed and turned. A strange guilt weighed on him, not loud, just there, like a whisper in the soul. He remembered his grandfather back in Punjab, eyes misty, telling him before he left for Canada, Beta, never forget who you are. Seva is not something you do, it's what you become. By morning, Amar found himself stepping out of the subway and walking toward the Gurdwara. Inside the Langar hall, the air was thick with the smell of hot dal, roti, and chole. Rows of volunteers in aprons worked side by side. Some old, some young, some white, brown, black, all united in the rhythm of giving. Amar was handed a large steel tray and gloves by Manveer. You came, she smiled. Start with packing. Then we load up and serve. He joined the line. No one asked where he had been. No one cared how religious he was. They just smiled, made space, and passed him boxes. The first moment he served a hot meal to a homeless man on Queen Street, an elderly man with shivering hands and tears in his eyes. Something shifted inside him. God bless you, the man whispered. Amar felt an overwhelming sense of peace. Not pride, not pity, just presence. The first day blurred into the second, then the third. What started as a one-time volunteer stint turned into a daily rhythm. Amar found himself waking early, something he rarely did, to help prepare food, pack bags, clean dishes, and travel in the cold with the Seva team. Toronto's winters were brutal, but the warmth inside the van and the smiles during service were enough to thaw any bitterness left in his heart. On the fifth day, as they distributed food outside a downtown shelter, Amar noticed an old woman sitting apart from the others. She wore no gloves, her fingers were purple from the cold, and she wasn't speaking. Just staring blankly. Has she eaten? Amar asked one of the shelter workers. No, the man replied. She doesn't talk. PTSD. She's been on the streets for years. Amar knelt beside her. He held out a warm bowl of dal and a piece of roti. She didn't move. Then, remembering something from childhood, he began to softly hum the tune of Tera Kia Mitha Laj, a shabad his mother used to sing while cooking Langar back in Punjab. Something flickered in the woman's eyes. She slowly reached for the bowl. Amar placed it gently in her hands, wrapped his scarf around hers, and said, You're not alone. Rab is here. That night, back at his apartment, Amar cried for the first time in years, not out of sadness, not out of guilt. He didn't know what it was. Maybe it was grace. Maybe it was Seva doing its real work, cleansing not the streets, but the soul. The next week, Manveer handed him a flyer. Want to help us organize a youth Seva workshop for the new year? Amar looked at the poster. Seva is love in action. Discover the heart of Sikhism. He laughed. You know I'm not exactly a model Sikh, right? She smiled. You showed up when it mattered. That's more Sikh than most. New Year's Eve. Amar stood at the edge of the platform at Toronto's Union Station, suitcase in hand, eyes clouded with emotion. He was heading home, Vancouver, for the first time in over a year. A knot tightened in his stomach. His last conversation with his father had ended in anger. His mother had pleaded with him to visit. But between school, ego, and apathy, Amar had stayed away. Now, with new clarity blooming from his recent Seva experience, he felt something stirring, not obligation, but a deep pull to repair. Back in Vancouver, the familiar smells of home greeted him before his mother did. Chai with cardamom, the scent of atta frying, the faded sound of Gurbani playing softly in the background. "Your Gaia," she said, her eyes wide in disbelief. He hugged her, tight. For the first time in years, no words, just love. His father emerged from the living room, arms crossed. "Why now?" he asked curtly. Amar paused. Then he stepped forward, folded his hands, and said, "I came to serve." His father blinked. "Serve, not just others, Papaji. You, Mom, our home. I've forgotten where I came from. I want to remember." The next few days were quiet, awkward, even. Amar swept the driveway, helped clean the basement, offered to cook langar at the local gurdwara with his mom, all without fanfare. Just action, quiet seva. He sat beside his father in the evenings, listening more than speaking. He even asked to go with him to the morning divan. On the third morning, after the Hukam Nama, his father finally spoke. "You're changing." Amar nodded. "Waheguru is patient. I'm just catching up." His father's eyes glistened. That night, Amar shared his plans to start a small weekly Langar Seva group back in Toronto. Students, immigrants, anyone who needed food and company. "I want to call it Nam and Nourish," he said. His mother clapped her hands softly. "That's beautiful, Beta," his father nodded. "Your Dadaji would have been proud." By February, Nam and Nourish had grown into something bigger than Amar imagined. Every Sunday morning, students from his university and young professionals from around the city would gather in a rented church kitchen to cook langar. They packed warm meals, walked the downtown streets, and offered not just food, but conversations, blankets, and even job resources. Word spread quickly. Local media featured a short piece. Instagram Reels showed Amar speaking about the power of service and the teachings of Guru Nanak. He was being called the Langar guy on campus. At first, it felt fulfilling, like his purpose was unfolding, but something subtle crept in. The joy of giving started shifting toward the pride of being seen giving. He spent more time curating posts and answering DMs than cutting vegetables. When volunteers asked questions, he interrupted. He started correcting others on how real seva should be done. And when a fellow volunteer, Simran, a quiet second-year nursing student, suggested rotating leadership roles to prevent burnout, Amar frowned. "I built this from nothing," he snapped. "I know what works." Her eyes dropped. "I thought seva meant humility." The words hit like a quiet slap. That night, Amar skipped dinner. He sat on his apartment floor in silence. He picked up his mala, something he hadn't touched in weeks. And then he opened a random page of the Gutka Sahib. The Hukam Nama read, "Yisno Bakshai Safat Salah, Nanak Padasai Pat Shah, one whom you bless with singing your praises, O Nanak, is the true sovereign of all sovereigns." He closed his eyes. Seva was never about spotlight. It was about surrender. The next day, he called a meeting. He apologized to the team. "I let ego slip in," he said. "Let's build this together. From now on, Seva isn't mine, it's Waheguru's." Simran smiled. "Welcome back, Amar." They all got back to work, together. Spring arrived in British Columbia like a hymn, soft, green, alive. Amar stood near the edge of a pine-rimmed lake at a Sikh youth retreat in Squamish. Snow still kissed the distant mountains, but here the air was gentle. Dozens of young Sikhs milled around, preparing for a bonfire discussion after Langar. Manveer had invited him to speak. He had declined at first. "I'm not a scholar. I'm still figuring things out." "That's exactly why they need to hear you," she replied. Now, under a sky painted with stars. Amar stepped up in front of the circle of youth seated on logs. He didn't speak like a preacher. He spoke like someone who had fallen and gotten up more than once. I used to think Seva was about helping others, he said, voice steady. Then I thought it was about leading. Being effective, efficient, impressive. But the more I walked this path, the more I realized Seva isn't what we do, it's what we let go of, our ego, our desire for control, even our ideas of success. He paused. Seva is when your hands move, but your heart is silent, listening. It's when you serve someone without even knowing it. It's when you hold a bowl of food, or someone's pain, and say, "This too is God." The fire crackled behind him. Somewhere in the back, someone wiped a tear. After the talk, a boy approached him. He was no older than 15, with a shy smile and a patka. "Virji," he asked, "how do I know if I'm doing real seva?" Amar smiled. "If no one thanks you, and it still feels like prayer, that's real seva." Months passed. Nam and Nourish grew into a city-wide network, but Amar didn't run it. He served in it, quietly, consistently. Sometimes he was washing dishes. Sometimes he was driving vans. Sometimes he was just sitting with someone in pain, saying nothing. He still had his flaws, still stumbled, still questioned. But now, each step forward was grounded in a truth deeper than ambition. To serve without self is to see the self in all. Epilogue. The quiet flame. One evening, Amar sat alone outside the Gurdwara, watching the sun set behind the marble domes. An elder approached, someone he had seen before but never spoken with. "You've changed," the man said. Amar folded his hands. "I'm still changing." The elder nodded. "You're becoming Seva." Amar smiled, eyes warm. "That's all I ever wanted." And under that fading sky, with the sound of Gurbani floating in the wind, Amar whispered a silent ardas, not for success, not for peace, but for the strength to keep giving. Forever.